All right, Shalom Israel, where the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge started at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana. We are not affiliated with any other Israelite group or any other Christian organization. All right, tonight's class is the Lashawan Qadash class. Now remember, the Lashawan Qadash class, meaning the holy tongue, the Hebrew language, is a very important language to learn. All right, this is your language. This is our language. All right, this is the language that the Lord gave to our people, and we held on to the Hebrew language. We held on to the customs and the culture and the traditions of the Lord. And the only way to find these traditions and culture and learn this culture and to learn our heritage or your heritage, all right, and your traditions and your culture is by coming into the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. That's the only way to do it. And so keep coming to this Hebrew class. This Hebrew class is extremely important. All right. And I mean extremely, extremely important. Do not take this class lightly. Do not take it for granted. All right. There's going to come a time where brothers and sisters are going to flood the school. There's going to be a time that brothers and sisters are going to flood this school that you would have never thought that was going to one day come into this school and step foot in this school. And you brothers out there are going to be responsible to teach them the traditions and the heritage and the culture of our people. I pray that every brother understands that this Hebrew language is important. I cannot stress this enough. Salakia, it's absolutely imperative that we learn this language. You want to get as fluent as possible when it comes to speaking the Hebrew. It's not something that you want to take lightly. It's not something that you want to take as a joke. All right. Just as much as you want to come to these scripture breakdown classes and you want to learn John 3:16 and you want to learn what Ezekiel 16 and 32 is talking about, and you want to know what Genesis 9 and 4 is all about. You want to know what all these scriptures are talking about, right? You want to know why Christ said this and Christ said that, and what did Peter mean by this and what did Paul mean by that. I know you want to know what Revelation means. I understand. You were like, well, what's the book of life? What's this kind of book? What's the seals? That same zeal needs to be put towards the Hebrew language. No excuses. That same absolute zeal needs to be put towards the Lashawan Qadash. I can't stress it enough. It's absolutely imperative. But we're going to get right into it, all right? So, of course, if everyone doesn't know what I've been doing lately, all right, at least as much as possible, is to go over what we're going to be reading in the Sabbath service. All right, it's very important, all right, to know what's being said in the Sabbath service, of course, and to also properly to be able to pronounce these words. All right, there's dozens and dozens of words, and there's dozens and dozens of words in the Hebrew. There's a bunch of grammar that brothers and sisters may not be aware of, and so that's what the Hebrew class is for. And the Sabbath service is to be able to hear it. All right, it's one of the ways to hear it. All right, of course, if you don't know, Priest and Officer Rashomach, you could say orders of Captain Ash. He's waiting for my Hebrew album to come out, but that's going to be some other time. All right, all right. I don't think I think Officer Kazak Ahmad said brothers may not be ready for Hebrew rap. You know that might be for the kingdom. You know, all jokes aside though, but you know a good way to be able to learn a language is through music. So that is something to consider. Some of y'all brothers out there may be good at Hebrew enough. Listen, drop a track so brothers and sisters can be able to hear your music and be able to learn the language. Don't be afraid to just speak the language to a brother or sister. And even if they may not know what you're talking to, you can let them know what you're saying and just be repetitive with them. All right. Like if I say ma shalamka, ma shalamka, ma shalamka, you're going to know that I'm asking you, how's your peace? And then, of course, your natural response is going to be, all right, shalom ya tawab. You're going to say, my peace is tawab. Shalom ya tawab. Shalom ya tawab is going to be repetitive. Don't be afraid to take the extra mile to be able to push this nation to the next level. That's the purpose of it all. The Bible talks about preparing the kingdom of heaven. All right. This is what we're doing right now as we speak. We are fulfilling the scriptures of preparing the kingdom of heaven. The Bible talks about rehearsing the righteous acts. You want to continue to rehearse that righteous acts and over again. The only way to stop eating pork, right, is to keep not eating pork day by day by day to the point where you're not going to eat any pork. And then if you have children, your children are going to grow up not eating pork. Then their children are going to grow up just not eating pork. And it's going to be just a custom. Like you ask them, hey, you eat pork, they're going to look at you like our children's children, however far forward you want to go until Christ returns. All right. People are they're just going to just not do certain things because this is what we taught them. We're going to be the beginning, all right, we're going to be the beginning of preparing the kingdom of heaven. You understand? Like we are the beginning blocks. We are the foundation. You understand? So when generations come, it's going to be on normality. We just not going to eat pork. Like our great granddaughter is going to be like, I cover up. I wear dresses. No, I'm not going to show my breasts. That doesn't make any sense. Everyone else out here, y'all weirdos. I'm going to cover up. I have a head wrap on. You understand? I say Yahweh Shamar Allah Taba Hashem Yahushai. Like that's the spirit that you are supposed to have as a sister right now. All right. And because you have that, and because you take on that spirit right now, years down the line, generations down the line, your daughters are going to have that same spirit. Does the Bible not say that you are the daughters of Sarah? The Bible says that. All right. I'm not going to go into a scripture breakdown class. Salakia. That's what I'm trying to not do. So let me throttle back. Salakia. I mean, this is the Hebrew class, so let me throttle back. Salakia. But now, but you guys get the point. All right. Yeah, everybody get the point. Let me know Khan or La'a. All right. So we can, go ahead and get started. Y'all really want to be able to get into this Hebrew. So now, first things first, we always go over the alphabet. The alphabet is something very, very important, very imperative. This is the foundation of learning the Hebrew language. This is the foundation. If you don't know the alphabet, all right, then that's it for you. You're going to have to stay right here. All right. Know the alphabet. Get familiar with the alphabet. All right. Now, what I mean by stay right here, you're not going to be too far left behind. All right. Just know no matter how many classes I teach, you're never going to be far behind. All right. Just always take notes. And then one day, all of your notes are going to make sense. And one day, you're going to just redo your notes yourself so you can be able to understand your own notes. Allow me to give you like a backstory. When I first started learning the Hebrew, all right, I was everywhere. The first time I came in learning the Hebrew, first things first, the Hebrew itself is what really brought me in the truth. All right. I didn't, it stuck to me. All right. Knowing that I have a language of my own is what really brought me into the truth. You understand? So, that's what really brought me in the truth. So, I've studied the language since day one. All right. And I did my best. All right. And the UPK, the brothers in the school that came before me, they really hit hard, like General Kabbalah Moth and Officer Marah and Officer Haza'ab. They really drilled into my head of how to properly speak the Hebrew and look at grammar, get certain books and do this and do that. Those brothers guided me to be the Hebrew teacher that I am today. All right. And so what I did was when I first started taking notes, my notes was everywhere. You know what I'm saying? I had a tense here and the alphabet here and grammar here and, this over there and what does af mean over there. And I had so much notes everywhere and it didn't make sense to me at first, but I made sure I took notes every class. And then when things started to click, because there's going to come a time where it's going to click. You understand? And that's how the Spirit of the Lord works, right? That's how the Holy Spirit works. One is just going to click. It's just going to be, it's going to be like a switch, and you're going to be like, damn, This entire time, this is what it is. You understand? Like for some of y'all officers out there, you know what I'm saying? When it comes to breaking down the scriptures and knowing the scriptures and knowing the Bible, right now, you're just a baby, right? You're just a baby. You're learning this, you're learning that, and you get into your infant stages, right? You're in your infant stages, and you learning how to say hey and bye and please and thank you. That's the script. You know what I'm saying? First you was on your mama's breast, and you was learning the milk, and you knew that this was good for you. So you learning the Christ, who did Christ die for, and why did Christ didn't do away with the law, and for God so loved you, for not forgot what the John 3:16 breakdown, and why that isn't for God so loved the world, and breaking down how the world were formed, and that there's a difference between the earth and the world. Like you're drinking all of this milk, you know what I'm saying? It's good for you, and then you get into your infant stages. All right, you get into your infant stages, and you're like, okay, all right, I'm starting to say the thank you and the please. I know what this kind of means now. And then one day you're going to just click, and you're no longer on autopilot. One day everything is just going to click. You understand? It's going to be that switch. That switch is coming. If you stay in this truth vacuum, all right. I'm talking to the officers in this case, and the troopers that may desire one day to be an officer. I'm talking to you, brothers, right? One day it's going to click, right? It's going to click for you, and it's just going to be like, damn. So that's what this means the entire time. This is what Captain meant by this. This is what Captain meant by that. And then it's just going to, and give the sister a hand. The sister said it's going to be like second nature. You're going to be like, oh, snap. Now it's starting to make sense. Now I'm starting to, and now you're an adult. One day you're just going to be an adult. And then you're going to realize what daddy and mommy said was right the entire time. You know what I'm saying? It was right for mommy to pop you because you was in grown folk business. Like you're going to realize why it was important to get popped. At first, you hated the fact that you got popped by mom, all right, because you was all up in grown folk business. But one day you're going to be an adult, and it's just going to click and be like, I understand why mom popped me being in grown folk business. It makes sense. You have no business being in grown folk business. You don't know what I'm talking about. You don't need to be here in this conversation at all. Like you're going to start to realize all of this. That's the process of being in the truth, all right? You're going to learn eventually why all of this is being done, why all of this is being said, and you're truly going to appreciate it. All right. I remember thinking back, like some of those whoopings, I hated when I was a kid. But when I look back, you know, some were some were abusive. My mother was very abusive. All right, I ain't gonna say that. She was definitely abusive. But I understood, you know what I'm saying? Not the abuse part, but just getting whooped. All right. I kind of understand, like maybe she was right to hit me this way because I decided to walk home by myself with no adult supervision, thinking that I'll be fine to get to the house on my own. I thought nothing of it then. I'm just a kid. I think I'm gonna be safe. I'm just walking home. It's only but a 5 minute walk. But of course, she being an adult, she know that there's people out there that will grab you up and snatch you away and take you away from her forever. So it's like I said, it's a growing process in this truth. Everybody get the point there. So this alphabet is your foundation. Start here. All right. Keep revisiting your alphabet. All right. Always look back at the alphabet. That was the spirit of the entire thing that I was getting to, and everything that I said. All right. Rehearse the righteous acts, preparing the kingdom of heaven. All right. Remember the days of old and things like that. All of these things play a part just when it comes to being in the truth and even learning the language in a nutshell. And I pray that everybody understands this language is important. This language is absolutely imperative to learn. So let's get it. You got your ah. You got your ah in the Assyrian. All right. And you got your ah in the ancient. The sister, what the sister say? Right, all right. Sister Carletta said, I don't eat pork anyway. Thank you, giving me wisdom and other things not to eat. Oh, yeah, no sweat. No sweat. Keep coming to class and you'll be able to learn not to eat pork, shrimp, and lobster. Like there's certain animals and fish and, and things you're just not supposed to eat. All right. Of course, I know some of y'all brothers and sisters may not have to know this part of the law, but there are certain insects that you can and cannot eat. Now I know that seems weird to y'all. Y'all never really grew up like these other nations and races of people, or so to speak. You haven't grew up, all right, like our other tribes. All right, you have other brothers and sisters that grew up a different way than you did. If you are so-called Native American, Native Indian, First People, First Nation, all right, if you are, from El Salvador, from Mexico, Costa Rica, from the DR, Puerto Rico, Peru, you name it, all right, you name it, Guatemala, you name it, Cuba, Colombia, you name it, Uruguay, you name it, all right, you're from these places, right? They didn't, their diet may be different from the typical so-called black man, black woman diet in America. And so I brought this up because in the Bible, it teaches you what insects to eat and what insects not to eat. Because there are insects you can eat and there are insects that you cannot eat. That's why when Christians tell me, right, Christians always try to debate people like, oh, well, what if, you're starving on some island and there's nothing to eat but a pig? All right. Doesn't God give you the right to eat the pig? No. All right. No, God does not give you the right to eat the pig because you're stranded on some island and there's nothing but pork there. Of course, some Christians are going to give you the most crazy example ever and worst case scenario example ever to get you to disobey God. All right. And to show how much disloyal you are to the Most High. That's what any Christian is going to do in any debate. They're going to go to the extreme so they can test to see if you're going to serve the Lord or not, because they don't serve the Lord. Their demon is to find any excuse in any way possible to not serve the Lord and keep the law. So for any brother out there, all right, and for any sister out there that may not know, the demon on Christianity is to get you to not serve the Lord and to give you every excuse under the sun to not keep the laws of God. All right. But now there are bugs that you can and cannot eat. There are insects you can eat, and there's insects that you cannot eat. Now, I brought up the other tribes. All right. The sister said I don't eat bugs anyway, never did and never will. I understand. I know. I understand, sis. That the sister says she don't eat bugs. That's true. A lot of brothers and sisters, so-called Negroes, all right, and the so-called black men and black women in America, that custom is not in our everyday life. Now I didn't grow up. Now me personally, all right, y'all think I'm black, and that's fine. Y'all can think I'm black. I tell brothers this all the time. I'm not black. All right. I'm not a so-called Negro. I'm not from the tribe of Judah. All right. I know, right? I look like I'm from the tribe of Judah. I get it. I understand. I look like I'm supposed to be black. I'm so-called African American. I know, but I'm not. I'm sorry to inform y'all, but I'm not y'all Judites that are in class tonight. There's nothing wrong with Judah. I'm just not one of y'all. We family though. We come from the 12 tribes of Israel. We brothers, we sisters, but I'm not Judah. Okay. Neither am I Benjamin. All right. I don't come from the islands. Neither am I Benjamin. Nor am I Levi. I'm not Haitian either. All right. So just let you know I'm not from Trinidad, Tobago. I'm not from Haiti, nor am I black, so-called African American. All right. I come from the northern tribes. All right. So you got some to choose from. All right. You got Puerto Rico to choose from. You got the Dominican Republic to choose from. You got Guatemala and Mexico to choose from. You got the Navajo or the Iroquois to choose from. You got the Creeks to choose from, the Muskegee, the Chickasaw, the Pequot to choose from, the Apache to choose from, the Cheyenne to choose from. You see how I'm naming more Native American tribes. I think I'm trying to give y'all a hint of who I am, but it's no problem. All right. And so I didn't grow up, all right, like typical Judites do. All right. I grew up differently. So one of my favorite things to eat is crickets. All right. I love crickets. I love ranch crickets. I love barbecue crickets. All right. I love teriyaki crickets. Crickets are very good. All right. Crickets are amazing. I know some of y'all are looking at me in a new light. Some of y'all, I know, once I said this, Some of y'all may have wanted to leave the class. So I feel it. Some of y'all was about to just exit out the YouTube and exit out the Facebook and just leave class because Officer Rashomon said he eat barbecue teriyaki and ranch style crickets. All right, how could this Negro do such a thing? All right, crickets are very good. All right, crickets are actually very good, but I brought up that because there are insects you can and cannot eat. All right, you can't eat spiders, you can't eat centipedes. All right, but but you can't eat crickets. Crickets is a lawful insect. So if you're stranded on an island and there's some crickets out there, you ain't going hungry out. You don't gotta eat the pork. You don't gotta cut up porky, all right, and and make you a ham sandwich. You can just get you some crickets, all right. You can just get you some crickets and fry them, and they taste very good. Ultimate I said, well, damn, okay, Con. The sister said, oh, she gave the nasty face. The sister, Ultimate I said, I'll tell you, I understand y'all gonna take my word for it, but crickets are very good. Don't knock it till you try it. Don't knock it till you try it. I grew up on crickets. Crickets are good. Me and Issachar ate crickets all the time. Chocolate covered crickets. Crickets are really good. Very good. Good protein as well. But continuing on, you got your ba. You got your ba in the Assyrian, and you got your ba, all right, in the ancient. Next, you got your ga. You got your ga in the Assyrian, and you got your ga in the ancient. You got your da. You got your da in the Syrian, then you got your da in the ancient. But Khan, all right. What tribe am I? I'm the tribe of Gad. Most High Christ. The sister asked, yeah, I'm the tribe of Gad, or the tribe of God in the Hebrew. All right, God in the Hebrew, but Gad in the English, but God, God in the Hebrew. All right, because there's a God sound, right? You got God and the Da put together, and there's God, the tribe of God. That's your so-called Native Indian. All right, your so-called Native American. My family is Native. All right, so we were already here. All right, and technicality is still up in debate. Due to the tribe that my grandfather does come from. He comes from the Creeks. He comes from the Creek Nation. He comes from the Muskogee tribe. His father was from Dothan, Alabama. That's where the Creeks and the Muskogee were located from. And my great grandfather would be he killed an oppressor, or he unalived an oppressor, and so he fled out of Alabama and ended up all the way in Jersey. And in Jersey, he met a light-skinned Judite woman, and then that's how my family begins in Jersey. From there on out. So, God, that's my life story for every brother and sister out there. All right, from the tribe. And so the reason why I say the tribe of Gad, because it's so-called Native Indian, but the Creeks and the Muskogee are part of the Seminole Indians. They are in league and they're part of the Seminole Indians. So the generals and the captains have been saying that I might actually be the tribe of Reuben, that I actually might be a Reubenite and not a Gadite. But I've been saying Gad this entire time. I haven't changed it. I am a North American Indian at the end of the day. I'm still a North American Indian, regardless if I'm from the Seminoles or not. But that's the tribe that I'm from, the tribe of Gad. All right. For any brother and sister inquiring. So you got Da in your Assyrian, and you got your Da in the ancient. You have Yahah. You have Yahah in the Assyrian, Then you have your ha in the ancient. Next, you have your wa. You have your wa in the Assyrian. Then you have your wa in the ancient. Next, you have your za. You have your za in the Assyrian. Then you got your za in the ancient. Next, you got your cha. You have your cha in the Assyrian. And you have your cha in the ancient. And so now, keep in mind, all right, this letter right here is very important, all right? Sister said Gad and Judah. Okay, Most High in Christ, Most High in Christ. So now you got Gad, I said Gad and Judah, Most High in Christ. So you have your Cha, right? You have your ancient and your Assyrian. Now, this letter right here, I want everyone to pay very close attention to, all right? I think I say this almost every class when I'm going over the alphabet, all right? Pay attention to it. It's your cha, your cha, your cha. All right, it's almost like you're scratching the back of your throat or you're trying like to cough up some loogie. It's your cha. All right, your cha, your cha. All right, you have your cha in the Assyrian and you have your cha in the ancient. All right, your cha. All right, you got your cha. Does everybody understand what I'm talking about when I talk about your cha? Let's see. No, this was way back when. Okay, Con. All right. Okay, Khan over Khan. So remember, it's your Cha. So your Cha in the Syrian, all right? Then you have your Cha, all right, in the ancient. Now pay attention, all right? We have, and I want y'all to, understand like that ah sound, all right? That ah sound is a very common sound. You want to make sure you understand that ah sound in our language, all right? Because our language is a consonant language. Like for an example, a good point. The sister brought out that she's Judah and Gad, but of course, you are who you are who your father is. All right, whoever that is. Uh, I'm just gonna go ahead and just get rid of him. All right, there we go. So now, if you pay attention, right? The sister said Judah and Gad, and I'm gonna break, and she said something about the Cherokee Indian. All right, that ah sound is a very prevalent sound. Like even in the ancient Cherokee language, there was a ah sound. All right, like the beginning of their alphabet started with ah. All right, and then the next letter was a. It was a e, but it was pronounced as a. All right, and then their I, but it was pronounced as e. All right, and their o was like o. Right, and their u was like ooh. All right, and then the V was pronounced as like a ah, all right, and the S like a sh, and the K like a ka, right, like a ka, making a ka sound, all right. Like this is how the Cherokee language was, all right. So if you know anything about the Cherokee languages, like the Osta Su Nale, all right, things like that, meaning like good morning or even blessings like Ada Shaligi, all right, meaning blessings, all right, things like that. I'm guessing y'all did not know that you want to be able to study different, you want to know your brother's language. You want to know your sister's language too at a minimum. There's going to be brothers and sisters that, come, that come into the school that may be native. So you may want to say, shalom. All right, shalom. They're going to learn shalom Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah Barakatah or shalom shalom Yahweh Shema Aladah Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah. You understand? But you may want to know, how to say certain things like do hey so, like do hey so, asking them how are they, and because they may not know mashalamka. But the purpose of the Hebrew language, all right, is so we can all be able to communicate with each other. But I'm just saying, you may want to know how to speak Spanish a little bit. You may want to know how to speak some Cherokee and things like that, and know certain things. All right, it's good to know the different languages, like Nawe Du Heida, saying peace. All right, but let's get it. You got your ka. All right. Then you have your ta. You have your ta in the Syrian. Then you have your ta in the ancient. Oh, Salakia, and I brought up the Native American language purposely. Salakia, I'm tripping. All right, I brought up the Native American language tripping because the way the Native Americans speak is kind of somewhat how the Hebrew is going to sound when you start speaking it fluently. All right, it's going to somewhat sound like how the natives speak. And so if you look into, how, if you ever watch like an old movie with, the First Nation people, all right, Salakia, the first people or the First Nation people or the Native Americans or Native Indians, Cherokee, the Choctaw, our native brothers, the way they speak their language, like Dohiso, Osego, Ahina, like things like that, or Iyohi, what I'm saying, Osta, Shunalei, like things like that. You're gonna, there's a certain vibe to it. Isasi, Gugayui, Ina Guasegaya, like things like that, like that language, all right, it's gonna sound somewhat like that. All right, it's going to somewhat sound like that at first. That's what the Hebrew language is going to sound when you're first learning it. But eventually, you're going to be able to get, you're going to be able to, get loose. You're going to be able to get you're going to get used to it. Wasla, Wasla Yi Shani Washi. Like I'm speaking native. That was particularly in Lakota. That was specifically in Lakota, but it's going to sound somewhat like that. So it's, don't be afraid that when you're speaking the Hebrew, you sound choppy, because you're kind of supposed to sound a little choppy, all right, at first, and then eventually you're going to get fluent. But you got the Assyrian, you got your ta in the Assyrian and in the ancient. You got you have your ya in the Assyrian. You got your ya in the ancient. You have your ka. You have your ka in the Assyrian, then you have your ka in the ancient. Next, you have your la. You have your la in the Assyrian, then you have your la in the ancient. Next, you have your ma. You have your ma in the Assyrian, then you have your ma in the ancient. So now remember what I say this every class. I want to make sure I hit every point too. You see where that arrow is pointing to? Like there are letters in the language, right? Particularly in the Assyrian script that are at the end of the word that you're going to eventually know that this is what this word ends with. All right. The way that where the arrow is pointing to, that ma right there, that's how you know that this word shalom ends with a ma, because that's what it's going to look like in the Assyrian. Shalom is spelled with a sha, a la, and a ma, but the ah sound is cut off because that's the rule, the majority of the case. So you have your Shah, Allah, and the Ma, right? So Shalom, right? Shalom, meaning peace be unto you, or meaning peace, all right? So you have Shalom, that Ma at the end. You see where that arrow is pointing to? That's the Ma that would be at the end of the word if it was spelled and written out in the Assyrian script, all right? So pay attention to those things too when knowing the alphabet. You have your Na, same thing. Your Na in the Assyrian, then your Na in the ancient. Next is your Sa. You have your Sa in the Assyrian, then you have your Sa in the ancient. Next is your I. You have your I in the Assyrian, then you have your I in the ancient. So now this is your I. This is the only letter that's going to sound like everything else in any other language, excluding kind of Spanish. All right, is your I. A lot of these languages too, especially the English language and these German languages, all right, they took from our alphabet and made it their own. All right, if you start to pay attention to the structure of our lettering and somewhat of the pronouncing of our lettering, you will see that these oppressors and these other nations and races of people, they took from our alphabet, especially our oppressor. All right, like the K, that's just a K. They took that from us. All right, does everybody see what I'm saying? Like the ah, that's really just an A, but they took that from us. Like our oppressor really took a lot of our language. Like the Z, that's just a Z. They took that from us. Like we were the ones with it first. Then they took it to be their own. Does that make sense? So the word I, now I is the oldest letter. All right. I is the oldest letter because the letter I literally comes from your I. And so you see in the ancient, right? Before our language, before our language was characteristic, all right, it was once pictographic, all right? It was symbol based. It was pictographic. And so the letter I was a little picture of your actual eyes. And so that's why it's a circle in the ancient script, because your eyes are circular. Your eyes are like a circular oval shape. And so now the letter I is now written characteristically as a circle. Now the Syrian script I is just because of our captivity and how the writing system of our oppressor was in the Syrian script. And you can just Google how the Syrians wrote ancient Assyrian language. Is like a bunch of lines. All right, is mostly linear. All right, archaic Assyrians. Of course, not to dig too deep into that because that's a whole lesson in itself. So, hopefully everybody's tracking. All right. Next is you have your pa. You have your pa in the Assyrian, then you have your pa in the ancient. Next is your taza. You have your taza in the Assyrian, then you have your taza in the ancient. All right, you can if you kind of pay attention to it, it's like a T with a Z attached to it. All right, it's almost like so taza. It makes you half a T with a Z attached to it, taza. All right, to kind of help you be familiar with it in the ancient. But this is what your taza looks like in the Assyrian. Then you have your qua. You have your qua in the Assyrian and your qua in the ancient. Then you have your ra. You have your ra in the Assyrian and you have your ra in the ancient. Then you have your sha. You have your sha in the Assyrian. Then you have your sha in the ancient. Then you have your tha. You have your Tha in the Assyrian, then you have your Tha in the ancient. All right? And that's the alphabet. So now, what we're going to do, quick navigation. Where we left off, I believe we are now in Genesis chapter 8. I'm almost positive we are. And we're going to start at verse 1 for the Sabbath service tomorrow. So now, who doesn't have the blue letter Bible? Yutawaba. All right. And Shalom, Yahweh, Shem Yahshua, Bakathum. I see you, Trooper Shemagabar, Officer Yagadar. So who doesn't have the blue letter Bible? Who doesn't have the blue letter Bible yet? Let's see anybody follow my orders yet. The blue letter Bible. Who does or does not have the blue letter Bible? Who has it and who doesn't have it? Who doesn't have it, y'all need to download it immediately, right? It's an app. It's a blue letter Bible app, all right? And y'all need to be able to download it immediately. This is, you need this blue letter Bible app. Who has it? Okay, good. Officer Mataza has it. Officer Yakadar has it. Y'all officers. Y'all supposed to have it. Most High Christ. Damn right. If y'all said we was gonna have a council tonight after class why y'all brothers did not have this app already. But Most High Christ. Well, I knew Officer Mataza and Officer Yakadar was gonna have it. I already knew that. Most High Christ. All right, Sister Coletta got it. Most High Christ. Who else has it? Who else doesn't have it? I know y'all waiting to answer so y'all can download it right now to say that y'all have it. I understand. I know the tricks of the game. No sweat. Listen, no sweat. Sister Anna got it. Okay, no sweat. Some of y'all trying to download it right now. I have it. Okay, okay. Anna got it. Coco got it. Okay. All right. Y'all got it then. All right. I know the tricks of the game. Remember one time Captain Natazak Nashah, he asked me who got their Bible dictionary. This is when books, you had to have books. Nothing was on your phone. All right. It was mandatory to have books. All right. So he would ask, who got y'all Bible dictionary? One time I said, oh, I have it on order right now. He was like, that won't the question. The question was, who has it now? And I had to say, I don't have it. I was 2 or 3 weeks late. This order was been put out that I needed this goddamn Bible dictionary, this Zondervan Bible dictionary, compact Bible dictionary. All right. For any of y'all brothers out there that are officers and troopers, make sure you get that Zondervan compact Bible dictionary. All right. There are things that you have to have physically. All right. Don't always rely on this technology. All right. That's why I got a big backpack full of books. I got nothing but books. I got a big crate of books. All right. The brothers laughed at me when I was in Jersey because some Muslim tried to debate me. And he said, well, show me the books. And I popped the trunk on him because I had nothing but a case of books in my trunk at that time. And I told the brother, I got books. Don't talk to me about books. I got books. Where's your books? I told the brother, where's your books? Because I got books. I popped the trunk. All right. I went to go, I popped the trunk. I took my books out. I don't pop trunks like I used to pop trunks. All right. I pop trunks for books now. Rakatha Yahweh Yahweh Shai, I pop trunks with books. All right. I'm popping out Bibles now in Zondervan compact Bible dictionaries. No longer Dracos and 42s and Glocks and 9s. And, I'm not doing that anymore. Rakatha Yahweh Yahweh Shai. This is what it means to be in the truth. So I popped the trunk on the brother and I took my crate of books. And I said, brother, I got books. All right. I got this book right here. I got this book right here. I got a book that talks about this. I got a book that talks about that. I got books, brother. Where's your books? Make sure y'all brothers and sisters get books, all right? Especially y'all brothers that are officers and troopers that desire to be officers, all right? You want books. You want certain books, all right? And so you got the Bible. You want to make sure you have the Bible. You want to make sure you have the Apocrypha, all right? These are your basic classroom, all right, necessities. These are basic classroom necessities that you have to have when coming into class. Never come to class unprepared. And I repeat, never come to class unprepared. I will call you out every time if you come to class unprepared. For any officer and trooper, you do not come to class unprepared. Have a notebook. All right? Even if you don't write in it and you like to use your phone, have a notebook. All right? A Bible. All right? King James Version, 1611. All right? A Bible. All right? Even if you have your phone and you read it off your phone, have a Bible. Apocrypha. Make sure you have an Apocrypha. All right? Because Apocrypha was once in the Bible. Now, there are Bibles with the Apocrypha in it. It's a little costly and it's written in the Old English. That's not a necessity, right? But if you want to get one, you can. All right. How I got mine, all right, I was new in the truth. I didn't know no better, and I stole it from the library. Salakia. I got checked for it. All right. I was new to the truth. I didn't know no better. And I say, I'm just going to steal back my records. And that was not the right thing to do. So none of y'all brothers do such a thing. All right. Y'all get it the honest way. All right. Don't do what young Officer 50 did and went into the library and just took the goddamn King James Version 11 with the Apocrypha in it. Don't do that. That's not the right thing to do. All right. Once again, I was new to the truth. I didn't know no better. All right. So if you want one, you can just order one online. I don't know how much they are. It depends. I don't really know. They may be a little expensive now, but if you would like one, you can, but you don't have to have one. But for sure, a Bible and an Apocrypha. So that's 3. A notebook, a Bible, and Apocrypha. A Zondervan compact Bible dictionary. All right? You want a Zondervan Bible compact dictionary. All right? So, you want to make sure you get that. The brother said, Most High in Christ, you got it, go, sir. Yeah, I got it. Salakia, I did get it, but it wasn't the right thing to do. It wasn't the right thing to do, but I got it. I definitely have it. All right? But I didn't do it the righteous way. I can't say if it was of the Lord or not. It couldn't have been because I got checked for it and it was wrong. But, I do have the 1611 Bible. All right? And it's written in the Old English and all. All right? But those are the 4 things you need for class. A notebook, a Bible, Apocrypha, and a Zondervan compact Bible dictionary. If you don't have those 4 things, then you're not prepared. You're not prepared for class. You're not prepared for class at all. You need those 4 things. All right? Anything else is good to have, but it's extra, like a Webster's dictionary. All right? Have a Webster's dictionary. That's a good thing so you can be able to look up words. Don't get to I know we have everything at our fingertips. All right? I know we have everything in our fingertips. Khan, I can type it for you. Khan says I can type it for you. I know we have everything in the exposed, at the hands of our fingertips. But one day these may not exist, and you want to be able to, the Bible talks about remember the days of old. Don't, you want to be able to keep the small traditions, you know, you know. Yes, Khan, the brother said all the stuff America stole us, charge it to the game. Hello, Khan. Yeah, I said the same thing in the council, like, and General Hyman didn't like that. I like it. It's like General Hyman and other generals was not fond of that. But Khan, so you got the compact the Khan. I can write those things down for you, sis. I can type it into the chat. All right. But those are the four things you definitely need. What was I saying? Hold on to those traditions of writing things down and being able to look things up by paper. All right. You want to get used to scanning the dictionary physically. All right. Because one day you're not going to have a phone and you're going to have to physically open up a dictionary and search up words. Like you'll be surprised, the generations that come after us, they're not going to be able to pick up a physical dictionary. All right. They're not going to be able to pick up a physical dictionary and be able to search up letters that begin with B and then maybe an A and then maybe a E and then maybe a G and then there's a word that creates it. You'll be surprised that these generations to come do not know how to navigate a dictionary. And it's sad. All right. And that's because of our oppressor. That's because our oppressor is the devil that the Bible speaks of. And that's also because of the fact that we rely too much on technology, and technology isn't always going to be there, right? There's a reason why, Captain and other, and tells you, when write on paper. Like I don't want to see you on your phone doing a breakdown. Me personally, I don't want to see it. All right. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see you on your phone at camp breaking down scriptures. That's Salaki. That's gonna piss me off. Salaki, it really is. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, but it's gonna piss me the hell off because this isn't always gonna be there. All right, but whatever you write down on pieces of paper, they're gonna be there. They're gonna be there. They're always gonna be there. Pieces of paper, always gonna be there. I got papers everywhere. They're always gonna be there. All right, y'all get the point. Papers everywhere. All right, write these things down. All right, that's how you keep a record. All right, but let's get to it. Y'all brothers understand that. So let's start from Genesis 8:1. All right, and God remembered Noah and every living thing and all the cattle that was with him in the ark. And God made a wind to pass over the earth it's like in the waters as waged. All right, and so now we're going to get that in the Hebrew. All right, everything that was said right here in the English, we're going to break it down in the Hebrew, step by step. All right, we're going to break it down. And I want brothers and sisters to follow along. So this right here, you have wa. This is a wa. This is a ya. This is a za. This is a ka. All right, I'm gonna kind of hover over it so that doesn't. I'm gonna kind of hover over it so this doesn't get in the way. All right. So you have your wa. It's like it. You have your wa. You have your ya. You have your za. You have your ka. And you have your ra. Is it gonna work when I do it down here? Yeah, it's gotta be real careful. It's gotta be real careful. Well, I might have to do some of this at the bottom. I gotta be just real careful. All right. So you have your wa, your ya, your za, your ka, and your ra. Now, your wa, what is your wa in the ya? That those two letters. There's wa in the ya. All right. What are the meanings of those letters right there? What are those called in Hebrew? So that wa in that za that's highlighted, that's highlighted, Salakia, what are those considered? Any brother sister remembers? What's that one as in the water to Officer Yagadar? He wrote it down there for you, sister. Most High in Christ. Merriam-Webster Dictionary, Apocrypha, King James 1611, and Compact in the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. All right, those are the 4 books in the notebook. Right, in a notebook. So those are the 5. Those are the 5 books that you need. All right. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary is optional, but it is good to have you a dictionary in your household. All right. I grew up with my father having a dictionary in the house, and if there was a word that I did not know that he used, he would make me look it up. I would always ask. I was always in the what's that term? Inquisitive. I was always a inquisitive individual. I mean, I always asked questions. I always inquired about things. And so I would ask him, well, what does that word mean? Because my father was big on using big words. And, he was just big on using big words. That was just him. And I would ask him, what does these words mean? And he would tell me, well, look it up. And at the minimum, I would try to figure out what's the first 3 letters of that word. And so when I looked it up, I would know the meaning of that word, and it stuck with me for the rest of my life. So get a dictionary in your house. If you have children, all right, that are able to read and write, all right, read, write, speak, of course, make them use a dictionary, all right. I can't express that enough. That's a personal thing, all right. But I would, take what I'm saying. Please, Baba Kwasha, it's up to you. But make them go through a dictionary. All right. Make them know how to use a dictionary. You'll be surprised how many brothers and sisters in the future, the generation to come, that may not know how to navigate a dictionary because this phone just looks it up for you. All right. And really, if you don't know how to pronounce the word correctly, you're not going to, if you don't, and also sidebar, if you don't know how to pronounce a word correctly, and give Officer Yagadar and Officer Mataza a hand, they're called prefixes, and Officer Yagadar went a step further, and he said wa means and ya means he, and that's absolutely correct. So give those 2 brothers an absolute hand. But to back to my other point, this phone that I have in my hand, I have an iPhone. All right, I am Team iPhone. Salakia. All right, I'm Team iPhone. So any brother has a quarrel with that, we can take it to council. But I am Team iPhone. All right. Even though I will say Androids are just, Androids do have their days. They are better. All right. But these phones, right, in these cellular devices, right, you can talk into them. But because of our accents, because we don't know how to pronounce certain things, all right, when we try to figure things out, the phone may not be able to comprehend what you're trying to ask them, right? And give Officer Yagadar a hand. Smartphones do make us dumb, all right? It really makes us dumb. There's no truer statement, to be honest. And so what you want to do, being a millennial, all right, if you guys are any millennials out there, and some of y'all, if any baby boomers are in my class tonight, all right, or whatever it is, or Generation X, I think I don't know, they have a whole thing to it. I'm not saying don't use your phone, but remember the days of old. All right, you want to actually, hold on to the traditions that were once passed down to us, like going through a dictionary. All right, like I said, these phones don't understand what you're trying to say. All right, you're going to try to figure out a word by saying it. All right, but they're not going to know what you're trying to say because you have an accent. Or you could be just pronouncing the word wrong, but you know what you're trying to say, but it doesn't know, this phone doesn't know. Like, I remember one word that no one knew how to say, and the word is called Neanderthal. Does anyone familiar with the word Neanderthal? You are a Neanderthal. Of course, we call our oppressor, he's a Neanderthal. Neanderthal. All right. Going through a dictionary, you'll be able to put Neanderthal. Neanderthal. All right. Some people be like Neanderthal and Neanderthal and whatever. Like that's not how you say it. It's Neanderthal. All right. If you sound it out, all right, and you have syllables, Neanderthal. That's a four-syllable word. A four-syllable word. Neanderthal. That's a four-syllable word. Do they even teach syllables in schools anymore? I like it. That's a good question. Do they even teach syllables? Neanderthal. All right. That's a four-syllable word. You can say it's a big word, but a four-syllable word. All right. Growing up, that wasn't a big word. Anything that was 3 to 4 syllables, that's not a big word. All right. Right, extinct, right? Neanderthal, right? Exactly. Caveman, extinct, like that's what Neanderthal means. But if you try to say Neanderthal, all right, if you try to see Neanderthal in this phone, right? I bet you'll get some type of medicine. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna show up. It's gonna pop up. Oh, do you mean such and such doll? This is a medicine or such and such, such and such. Don't rely on technology. You know what I'm saying? Get into writing things down. Practice your penmanship. All right. They took cursive out of schools. There's a generation that's going to come that doesn't know cursive. All right. There's a generation in America that's going to come that's not going to know how to write cursive. So don't be surprised 20 years from now, unless Christ returns, it's going to be damn near a scholarship to be able to know how to write and read cursive. It's going to be some special skill to read and write cursive. When us growing up, that was the standard. That was the standard. You had to know the regular alphabet, and then you had to know the cursive alphabet. You had to know both. There was no exception to it. If you did not know both, you did not pass the first grade. All right? They may have let you through kindergarten, but if you did not know how to write in cursive, you were not passing the first grade. That was it for you. You had to stay behind. All right? I grew up in the era where, they let people back. All right? I don't know about this new era where they push people through grades, but you were left back. You were left behind. All right? You were left behind for sure. And if you did not know, even though there's a for any of y'all mothers and fathers, any of y'all fathers and mothers out there, even though America did pass way back when that there's no child left behind. Just know, if you feel like your child is not where they need to be to go to the next grade, you can choose for them to be left behind. And allow me to tell you, brother, allow me to tell you, sister, all right, those parents in the suburbs, those parents of the oppressors, all right, they will leave their child behind if they feel like they're not ready to move on to the next grade because they take education serious. All right. In the black community, education is not taken serious. And we're not as involved in our children's education as much as we should be. And because of so, we just allow our kids to get pushed through this system. And then we're going to be so surprised that they're dumb and stupid and don't know how to do certain things time and years to come. So my advice to any brother and sister that's in the school that has children, all right, be a good parent. And if your child isn't fit to move to the next grade, first things first, look into yourself and realize you failed them as a parent, and you should have been there to teach them and guide them and help them to be able to pass these classes because you went through the first and second and third and fourth and fifth grade before. And then two, be a good parent and don't let them move on because they need to be able to know this information in order to move on in life. Or three, be a good parent and get them the extra help so they can become great and smart in this society like they're supposed to. All right. Don't be a bad parent. All right. And allow your kids just to be pushed through school just because, America allows it to be so. All right. Don't allow America to make your children dumb. All right. They want black children to be dumb. They want Latino children to be dumb. They want the native children to be dumb. All right. That's what they want. All right. I can't express that enough. Of course, I'm serious about topics like that because education was always important to me just as much as it was important to my parents. Of course, I didn't listen when I was a kid when it was important. All right. I'm gonna make sure, I'm gonna, I wouldn't say I didn't listen. I listened when it came to education. All right. I did get good grades. I can't say I was definitely an A and B student. So I can't say I didn't listen. But because I'm an adult now, I finally realized why they were doing the things that they were doing and making me go into the dictionary and making sure I wrote, all right, and writing things properly and things like that, all right. And like I said, that cursive, all right, they took, the brother said, I just read they removed cursive from the curriculum in 2010. Exactly, since 2010, they moved cursive out the curriculum. So if you're born after 2010, so if you were born the year 2010 and you're 5 or 6 years old in 2015 and 16, all right, you are a 5 and 6 year old that doesn't know how to write cursive or read cursive, right? Now imagine being in America in the most important documents ever in America, in all of the historical documents in America, and the majority of the historical important records and documents in America are written in what? What are the most important and oldest records of America? What script are they written in? Can anybody answer me that? Y'all answer me that. Then we're gonna get back to the lesson. Salaki. I'm supposed to be teaching Hebrew, y'all. Salakia. Y'all supposed to stop me, all right, and be like, Salakia, sir, this is the Lashawan Qadash class. Y'all supposed to stop me. God damn it. Salakia. But y'all answer me that. What script is it written in? Exactly. Right. Give Officer Yagadar a hand. The script is cursive for old records. Exactly. Give Sister Carletta a hand. It's cursive. They're all written in cursive. Keep that in mind. All right. The white, our oppressor, right? Give Sister Anna a hand. Cursive. All right. Don't allow our oppressor pull a fast one on you. All right. The small things matter. The small things count. What our oppressor does is he does things in steps. He will do things step by step by step, and then you have no idea out of nowhere what's going on. And then 20, 30 years later, you have a generation that does not know cursive and can't read cursive. And so if they're trying to, it's so terrible that cursive may be a college a college level class. Just to know how to read and write cursive, you're going to have to go to college for it. When it was mandatory. When we grew up, it was mandatory to know how to write cursive. I wouldn't be surprised that they're going to try to make money off of knowing how to write and read cursive because there's still documents out there that are written in cursive. There are business signs. Just go out in Norfolk, go out in Newport News, go out just anywhere. There are pizza restaurants and stores and grocery stores that have cursive writing. because it's, it's a fancy way to write it or whatever the case may be. And generation down the line, the kids are gonna be like, what does that say? They're gonna be adults though. And they're gonna say, well, what does that say? And I'm gonna say, that says Pizza Hut. You know what I'm saying? That says Pizza Hut. That says Domino's. You can't tell that's a D with the O and the squiggly M. You don't see that? You couldn't put two to the. That's what's gonna happen. You're gonna have to go to college for cursive. Just you wait. Just you wait. But let's get back to it. You have Hebrew. All right. You got the Hebrew. Give also Yagadar a hand. He said the wa means and the ya, all right, means he. So that's why when you go up, all right, when you go up in the English, it says, and God remembered, right? That's saying, and the Most High, he remembered. It's almost implied. So when you see it right here, it's saying, and God remembered, all right? That's saying, and God, and God, he remembered, all right? Of course, Alahayim should be there. If I'm not mistaken. We're about to get to it. All right, so Laki, I don't mean to jump ahead. But does anybody remember what Zakar means? Does anybody remember what Zakar means in the Hebrew? Zakar, like Captain Zakar. What does Zakar mean in the Hebrew? Does anybody remember what does Zakar mean? I think I gave it away like 18 times already. What does Zakar mean? Give Officer Yakadar a hand. Zakar means to remember. Now, this is what I want you to Zakar. This is what I want everyone to Zakar. All right. Zakar everything that I tell to you. All right. Make sure you Zakar this right here. All right. Zakar those root words. Remember those root words. You want to Zakar those root words day in out. All right. Most importantly, when reading the Hebrew and studying the Hebrew, Zakar the root word. All right. Remember the root word. All right. There's going to be a bunch of letters added to it, but what you want to find is the root word. All right. Just like what Officer Mataza Al-Karat answered. All right. That wa and that za, those are prepositions. All right. Those are prepositions. Now remember, if you guys did not know the answer to that, that's no sweat. That's why I'm going to go to the Google Jamboard. Now, of course, you see all these things right here? I made these. I may be able to share these to y'all and give y'all access to them some way, somehow. All right. I think so. I believe that I can. If I can, I'll figure it out. I'll try not to be selfish and keep my work to myself. It's like it. But Con, I'll see if I can share those to y'all because these are good notes. All right. These are good lessons to study. All right. So you have Hebrew prefixes. These are the prepositions that Officer Mataza Al-Kara was talking about. So you have your ya, which is he. All right. You have your ha, which is the in the Hebrew. You have your ba, which is in the Hebrew. You have wa, which is and in the Hebrew. You have your ah, which is I or I am in the Hebrew. You have your la, which is your to or for in the Hebrew. You have your ka, meaning like or as in the Hebrew, referring to like similes. All right. You have your sha, meaning who, which, cause, or sake in the Hebrew. You will see sha in most cases trying to say which. All right, like which. Something, of course, just go into your dictionary and look what which means. All right, and it will break it down to you what which is used for. You have your ma, which is from in the Hebrew. Right, so ma in the front of a word, meaning this is what this word is from, or you could easily be saying this is from this or this is from that. This person is from here or from that. It just depends on the context because when knowing Hebrew, context is everything. So remember your prepositions. Keep in mind your prepositions are absolutely everything. All right, your prepositions are everything. Knowing your root words are absolutely everything too. All right. So you have Waya Zakar, meaning and he remembered. All right. Then it says, so it says, and he remembered. Then it says Alahayim. You have Alahayim. Does anybody remember what Alahayim means? It's referring to this is referring to the angels of the Most High, all right, or referring, which gives recognition to the Most High, all right, because the angels have always done the work of the Most High. That's why when you see God in the Hebrew, all right, Yahweh is the Most High Himself. That is His name. But when you see like capital God, that's talking about God, all right, referring to the angels. But of course, the Most High will always get the recognition. That's why you have the term Alahayim, all right, or you have the term Allah, meaning power, right? Allah meaning power. Alahayim is the pluralization of Allah, all right. Now, for any brothers and sisters out there, when I say Allah, I'm not talking about the Islam God Allah. All right, that's a whole different way. Allah is completely different from Allah. Allah and Allah are two different things. Allah and Allah are two different words. Allah, Allah. Can y'all hear the difference? Allah, Allah. Allah, Allah. They're two different languages. They're two different languages. All right. So Allah is power in Hebrew. Alahayim is powers in Hebrew. Give Officer Yagadar a hand. Alahayim is powers in Hebrew, referring to the angels doing the work of the Lord. All right. So Allah is power. Alahayim is powers. Allah is the God, is the Islam God of the Ishmaelites, of the so-called Muslims today. Completely different. Know the difference. All right. So when we're speaking the Hebrew and we say Allah, because you will see Allah in the Hebrew, it's not Allah. It's not Allah. All right. It's not Allah. It's Allah, which is power in Hebrew. All right. So let's get to it. So you have Waya Zakar Alahayim. And so now, of course, how Hebrew is written, all right, the way this is written, Waya Zakar Alahayim, all right, it says, and he remembered God, right? This translates, and he remembered God. But now, remember, Hebrew isn't written like English, all right? So when you're reading the Hebrew, all right, when you're reading the Hebrew, all right, it's not how you're going to write it in English. It's not saying, all right, and he remembered God. All right, it's not saying that. That's why when you go up, it says, and God remembered. All right, because Hebrew not sometimes. All right, give Sister Coletta a hand, right? Allah. I'll put a ha at the end of that. A ha. There's an H at the end of for power, but you're close. And I know the spelling might be. I think that may be your keyboard. So because I know the K and the L are very close to each other, but it's but make sure that E is an A. All right. So when you say power, right, put an H at the end of that, and you'll be right. And then for powers, all right, for powers, all right, because God in the Hebrew is just power, all right. The most misunderstood, one of the most misunderstood words in the Bible is the word God. All right, that's the most misunderstood word throughout the Bible. No one really knows what God means. All right, every time they see God, they think that's automatically referring to the Lord Himself when it is not. All right, that's why there's a capital G, lowercase gods, like and it's the same word. But you want to pay attention to those things, and you want to pay attention to detail. All right. So you see, so to correct you says, so I can get you on point, for your, where it says God, all right, put powers instead of G, capital God. All right, it does mean that you can keep that there, but I want you to add powers to it, so you know it's pluralized based off of the word power that you first wrote. So you have Allah, put a ha at the end of that, and that's what that means, power. Allah, Allah, and then you have Alahayim. You have your ah there. That's good. Put that K, change it into Allah. Like I said, I know the L and the K are next to each other. Um, the H is fine, but you see that the E that you have there, that E needs to be an A. So Allahayim. So if you say it slowly, Allahayim, 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 meaning powers. All right, referring to the angels doing the work of the Lord. Then you have Allah, Allah meaning power. All right. Let me see. Allah meaning power. Allah. That K is still there. That's the Rob. You're right on point. Just fix that K that's right there. That K. All right. Just fix that K and you'll be good. Unless your keyboard is just making you press K. But sometimes it be like that. But make sure that K it's an L. It's a La. All right. So Allahayim. But you're right there. All right. Like for an example, the reason why it's the most, real quick, we're gonna come back to it real quick. So I ain't gonna break nothing down. I'll end up breaking something down. All right. If we go to John. All right. Where's John at? That's James. I'm missing John. There we go. John. John chapter 1, right? So when y'all read 1 John chapter 1, you're going to say, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, right? And so, of course, when you're reading 1 John chapter 1, verse 1, like it is, of course, this is going to be written in Greek because the New Testament was written in Greek. But you'll see right here, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. All right? So naturally, that's something very hard to understand because you're not going to understand John chapter 1, verse 1 because you don't know the Hebrew. All right? You're not going to know what John chapter 1, verse 1 is talking about because you don't know the Hebrew. You don't know that God is not referring to the Most High Himself all the time. All right? Because God can easily just mean power. Does everybody understand? It can easily just mean power. It's not what you think it is. All right. But now, of course, I'm not here to break down John chapter 1, verse 1. All right. But let's go back to Genesis chapter 8, verse 1. So now we have Allahayim. So everybody understands that. So way is a call Allahayim, the way it's written. Remember, Hebrew is not like English. All right. So this easily is saying, all right, you can and God remembered. So it's saying God remembered, and He remembered. But it's really saying God, He remembered. All right. You have Ah, because this is what he's remembering. All right, and this is who he remembered. This is who he remembered. He remembered Nak. Nak is Noah in the Hebrew. So Waya Zakar Alahayim Ath. Does anybody remember Ath? All right. Ath is a direct object marker. All right. Ath is a direct object marker. Remember that. Ath is a direct object marker. So if we go back to our notes, all right. Let's go back to our notes. And we go to Ath. You're going to see this a lot. You're going to see this a lot, all right? You have your Ath. How to use Ath. Ath is used in conjunction with direct objects. Examples, personal pronouns and the. Ath will always be before the direct object no matter what. So the direct object, Ath will be before the direct object. All right? So it says personal pronouns. All right? So we go back to Genesis 8. Ath will always be before the object pronoun. All right? Or which would be the direct object, or will always be before the direct object. So Ath will always be before the direct object. All right? And of course, it's going to be used in conjunction with verbs. So now, with that being said, it's being used in conjunction with verbs, and that is zakar. Zakar is the verb that it is being used in conjunction with. So because zakar, meaning to remember, is being used in conjunction with, the verb always has to come before Ath, but the direct object has to come after Ath. And the direct object is Noah, because Noah is a pronoun. All right, it's a proper name, it's a noun. Proper name, it's a noun. That's the direct object. All right, that's what the verb is being attached to. It's like it being used in conjunction with, not attached to, it's like it. But what is being used in conjunction with. So the car is being used in conjunction with not, because this is what the Most High remembered. He remembered not. That's why it says, and God remembered Noah, which is not in the Hebrew. And, all right, this is talking about Af. Why is there another Af there? All right, because this is going to be another direct object being used. All right, it says call, meaning all, right? Call, meaning all right? Or every, right? Call means all or every, all right? Every. If we go to H3605, that is the Strong's number for it, all right? Meaning call, and it means all, the whole of, and each, every, anything, totality, everything. So everything that I just said is exactly what it means. That's exactly what it means. So if we go back, okay, you have call meaning all, but in this case, in context, it says it's every, all right, and meaning every, call meaning every, all right. Then you have ha-chaya, all right, chaya meaning living, literally meaning living or living thing, anything that's living, all right. So everything that's living, the living, all right, and meaning the living, ha-chaya. Now, of course, all right, you see how in the English it says every living thing. In the English, it says every living thing. But in Hebrew, it says the living thing. It says the living. All right. Can anybody kind of tell me why in the English it just says every living thing, but in Hebrew it just says the living? This is just the translation. So let me get rid of that. But if you look at that face value, that ha means the. That's a preposition. All right. If we go back to our prepositions real quick, if we go back to our prepositions, if we go back to our Hebrew prefixes, right? When we go back to our Hebrew prefixes, you have your ha. and Yah means the, right? You see that right there? Yah, all right, prefix meaning it's in the beginning. It comes in front. That ha meaning the, all right, that ha meaning the. And so if we go back also to our af, all right, the reason why af is being used because this is an example, all right, of a direct object. Examples of direct objects are personal pronouns and the, meaning if there's a the in front of a word, that means most likely it can be used as a direct object, like the rock, meaning this is the rock. It's not any kind of rock, but it is the rock. If I say it's the chair, I'm not saying it's any kind of chair. This is the chair. If I say the table, and I'm not talking about their table, I'm not talking about his table, I'm not talking about her table, I'm not talking about their table, I'm talking about the table. That is an example of an object pronoun. All right. So if we go back, this chaya, we know chaya in the Hebrew, H2416 is the strong. So 2416 is the strong, right? Meaning living, meaning to be alive, right? Living, to be alive, green, vegetation, flowing fresh water, being lively, active, like of a man, reviving, like, springtime, things coming back to life, all right? Because that's what spring is about. So if you go back, chaya just means living. So if it says the living, so can anybody tell me, if y'all haven't answered already, why in the English does it just say every living thing? But in Hebrew, it says the living. Can anybody tell me why it doesn't say every the living thing? But why does it just say the living in Hebrew? But in English, it says every living thing. Can anybody break that down to me? Let's see who really knows Hebrew. Let's see if anybody can make it make sense. Let's see. Y'all give it a shot. Why does it say it? Y'all want to give it a shot? Let me know. Okay. Okay, so also mataza is there a Hebrew word for thing? Not quite. All right, not quite. There is a Hebrew word for like something and anything. All right, but that's not where I'm getting at though. But that's good. I see what you mean by that. Also, Yagadar, our language is common sense. English is deceptive and complicated. Mm, okay, yes and no. All right, your statement is right. Your statement is right, Officer Yagadar, but that's not the answer to my question. So in English, it says every living thing, but then in grammar, it says the living, right? Why is that? Why is that the case? Hebrew grammar and language is different from English. That is true. It is. All right. Carletta is more into it. All right. Sister Carletta, she's getting close. Hebrew, that's basically almost the answer. Hebrew grammar and language is different from English. Anybody else want to hit it home? Somebody explain to me. It says every living thing in English, but in Hebrew it says the living or the live. Why does it say the living? Think about it. It's an object pronoun. Think about it. Anybody? Try to give it a shot. Can you? It means all living things. That is true. All right. Give Carletta G a hand. Right. The living itself means living things. All right. It has become its own noun. It became its own word from that point on. All right. So allow me to give y'all an example. All right. The living. The reason why it says, Officer Yoder said the meaning, all nothing specific, so all living. Exactly. Right? Give Officer Yagadar a hand. That's exactly what I'm saying. It literally means living things. So the living, when it says the living in Hebrew, it means living things in English because that's the pronoun. It's like that's like his old word. That's the object pronoun. Like that's the object pronoun. It's like a word within itself. All right, it's been created to be its own thing at that point. So the living, right? If you see the living, all right, it could be talking about living. It's talking about living things. It's now talking about, all right, of course, like animals or humans, mankind, whatever, man, women, children, you name it. Anything that's living, anything that's breathing, right? That's what it's referring to. So the living will automatically translate to living things because the things that are living are the living. All right. Does everybody make sense? Our language is in simple terms. One word in Hebrew means what all the other words mean in English, or are you looking for something more? No, Officer Slaki Trooper across the par is kind of on it too. Like what he said is perfectly said. All right, is everything is in simpler terms. That's why when Officer Yagadar said the similar thing ahead of time, because Officer Yagadar said our language is common sense, English is deceptive and complicated. Is you're right. What y'all saying is right, but I wanted y'all to go more into detail of what I meant by that. So I know that you guys have an understanding of what I'm trying to bring out or what I'm going to teach. So the living is living things because any living thing is the living. Does everybody understand that? Does everybody understand that one word that so the living is living things because any living thing is the living. So now when you're breaking down this verse in English, right? This is how you know how to break it down. Does everybody see how we get our breakdowns in the UPK? Because you have to know the language. Living things is referring to the living. It can't be talking about anything else. Living thing is talking about the living. You can't make living things out to be whatever you want it to be, because in Hebrew it talks about the living. We know what the living means. The living has to be something that's alive, something that's breathing, all right? Like a human, an animal, all right? Something that's living, the living, all right? And of course, context will explain it all, all right? But the living, referring to living things. That's why when you go into the English, it expounds on it and all the cattle that was with him in the ark. So now this lets you know, and meaning something separate, all the cattle that was with him in the ark. So meaning there was a living thing. There are things that are living, but then you have the animals, the cattle that was with him in the ark. Now are the cattle living, right? Are the cattle alive? So those cattle, meaning like animals, are they alive? Like, are they living? Are the cattle living? Are they alive? Yes or no? Khan or la'ah? Are they living? Are they living? Are those cattle, those animals, are they living? Are they alive in Noah's Ark? Khan, they are alive. Give Officer Mataza a hand. They are alive. They're living. But are they, but now my question would be, are they the living? La'ah. Even though they're alive, right? Give Trooper Shamar Gabar a hand. The River Officer Mataza a hand. Give Officer Gadar a hand. Give Kalada G a hand. Right. They're alive. But now, but are they the living? There's a difference between being alive and then there's the living. That's referring to mankind. That's referring to men being alive, the living. All right. We're not talking about anything and everything. We're talking about the living. That's why it says every living. That's why it's saying every living thing and all the cattle that was with him in the ark. So every living thing. All right. Every living thing. Right. This is referring to more than just animals. There are living things. All right. There's a particular the living. So now you're talking about mankind. Now you're talking about insects. All right. You're talking about the fowls of the air, like birds. You're talking about your reptiles and the creepy crawly things on the earth. Those are living things. Then you have cattle, because cattle in particular, all right, they're alive, right? But in this context, they're not considered to be a part of the living things, all right? Cattle are something that you use to produce resources with. Cattle is what you use to produce resources and food and clothing and and jackets and coats and sweaters and pants and shoes. All right, everybody get the point. All right, like this is the breakdown of this scripture. You guys aren't understanding. All right, that's the breakdown of the scripture. All right, you need to know the Hebrew in order to break down these scriptures sometimes. All right, but let's get to it. So ha-chaya, all right, the living. It literally translates to every living thing. Then you have wa'ah. There you go. And there's the and, then the another pronoun. You have call. Then this is of course mean cattle. All right. Bahama. We go to H929. Salakia. Bahama. Bahama. All right. Bahama. 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 All right. Bahama. Bahama. You can say Bahama or Bahama. All right. But you have beast, cattle, animal, beast, call of all animals, cattle, livestock. domestic animals, wild beasts. So now, of course, that's why I said in the breakdown, Bahama, right? Bahama or Bahama, all right? Even though cattle are living things, it's not referring to every living thing and every living thing and all the cattle that was with him in the ark, because there's a difference between livestock and a snake. All right? There's a difference between livestock and an alligator. There's a difference between livestock and a zebra. There's a difference between livestock and a giraffe. There's a difference between livestock and a coyote. There's a difference between a livestock and a panther and a cheetah and a lion and a jaguar. Like there's a difference between it all. Right. Things uttered in Hebrew and translated into another language, into another tongue, Salakia, have not the same force in them. Right. Ecclesiasticus chapter 1, verse 1. That's one of the things written in Ecclesiasticus, the prologue in Ecclesiasticus chapter 1, verse 1. Give truth a cause apart a hand. All right. Most High in Christ, y'all get it. All right. But there's a difference between livestock and the rest of the beasts and animals that are out there on the earth. A cow, its purpose is completely different than the purpose of a jaguar. That's why it's considered livestock. A bull, a bison, all right, does not have the same use, right? A bull or a cow, all right, or a bison does not have the same use that a jaguar or a lion or a cheetah would have. So it wouldn't be considered livestock. A elephant, a giraffe, a zebra does not have the same use, all right, that a well, horses are not so much livestock, all right, that a pig would have, all right. That's why a pig would be considered livestock, because these are considered to be able to give you resources. A pig on your farm is absolutely needed. All right. You're not allowed to eat swine, and you're not allowed to eat the pork. You're not allowed to eat pork. You're not allowed to eat the flesh of a swine. You're not allowed to eat pig. You're not allowed to go and eat boar. You're not allowed to go hunting for war hogs and eat them. All right. The Lord is against that absolutely. But if you have a pig on your farm, all right, if you have a hog on your farm, they are used for a reason. All right, they're there for a reason. They are part of the livestock. You may not be able to eat them, but they are part of the livestock because they are used to be able to produce fruits and vegetables and things like that. They get rid of waste in particular. Pigs are very good to get rid of waste of things that you do not want. A pig will eat everything and anything. So if you have a farm and you have things that you do not want or do not need, you would give it to your pig. All right. All right. You will give it to a swine, and they will eat it up graciously. They will love it. They will enjoy it. That's what a pig is used for. All right. Just like if you have a donkey, that's a part of livestock. You may not be able to eat a donkey, all right, but it's a part of livestock, all right, because it will help you plow, right? It will help you plow the land, all right? Cows, there are cows that you will eat, then there are cows that you will not eat. Then there are cows that are meant for breeding. If you are on a farm, these are livestock because they're going to help you produce resources. A zebra, a giraffe, an alligator, these things are not going to produce anything for you. Those are just animals. They are not livestock. Everybody get my point when it comes to livestock? All right. You would use a cow to plow the land because the way an ox plows the land, like you would take an ox to plow the land. All right. An ox and a cow, even though they're in the same family, they are two different. They're different. All right. Cows are there to eat and make into meat. All right. Or to get milk from if necessary. All right. Cows are there for a reason. All right. They're livestock. Then you have an ox. They help you plow. They're bigger in stature as a kind of a cow. An ox is a kind of cow, but is a bigger cow. All right, almost like a size of a bull. And they're going to, if I'm not mistaken, an ox may just be a bull. I would have to look that up to double check. But just know an ox is a big animal and is going to help you plow. Now, if you are on a farm, you have an ox. All right, you have an ox and then you have a donkey. The way an ox plows is different than the way a donkey is going to plow. All right, an ox will plow, is able to pull more. All right, so you can get real deep into the soil to deep seed something because things are needed to be deep seeded in the ground. And then you have a donkey plowing the land because it may not be able to push as much, but it still needs to be seeded some way and somehow. All right. And so certain fruits and vegetables and crops have to be deep seeded. All right. And then some fruits and vegetables and crops don't have to be so seeded into the ground in order to grow. All right. So that's the purpose between the ox and the donkey. Right. This is everything that the Lord taught Adam in Genesis. And this is what we're reading about right here. This is why Noah was told to bring livestock into the ark. And then, of course, all things that are living, all living things. All right. Everybody get it? Like, this is why it's important to know the Hebrew. This is why it's important to know, all right, how to read and write the Hebrew, because it's going to help you be able to break down these scriptures when it's necessary. All right. So that's absolutely, absolutely important to know. All right. No, Salaki. I didn't know I was that much over the time. Salaki. Here we go. So now you have wa'af, call, habama. Then you have a shar, which can be used as which or that. But let me show you why I said which. All right, you have a shar, meaning which, who, that which. All right, that. All right, so the verb or the word, like not the verb, but the word ashar means which or the or that, depending on how it's used. Mostly which or that. Ashar. All right, athwa. All right, athwa, meaning with him. All right, that ath right there. This ath. This ath in particular means with. So that ath means with. All right, so what ath called habama, ashar, athwa. All right, ba, sabah. All right, the ba meaning ship or ark. The ba or box to be exact. Sometimes it can mean box, but it's referring to an ark. All right, the ba. All right, sabah, meaning like a vessel, which Noah built, a basket built, a vessel in which Moses was placed in, like an ark, is referring to an ark, which I believe. All right, so the ba, that perhaps they formed, yeah. So the ba, Slocky, it's 909 for time's sake. Right, Coletta said pigs clean the land like shrimps, crab, lobster, clams, eel, catfish, octopus, and colorful. Yeah, clean. Right, exactly. Same thing. That's why the Lord put things in place for a reason. But so, like, for time's sake, I'm gonna go ahead and end the class. I kept y'all here long enough. Check us out next Friday, the Lashawan Qadash class. Always ask questions. All right, come to the Hebrew class, ask as many questions as needed. All right, don't forget to sign in and check in for your, make. I see that all y'all did the attendance, so that's good. All right, so with that, Shalom Israel, Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah Bakathum to the brothers, and Shalom Yahweh Shamar Alathan Ba'ashim Yahweh Shah to the sisters. All right, Shalom.